Welcome back to the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran here on 103.9 FM WYAB. I forgot to mention earlier, we are streaming worldwide, as always, WYAB.com. But hey, look, I'll tell you, if you're going to listen to this show live, you better get in on the stream early. We crash it regularly and often. And crashing it is actually not the right term. It's just it maxes out and nobody else is allowed to get in. So get in early. And if you missed it, of course, you can always check out the podcast. I'm going to start pushing this really hard, y'all. I need you to go subscribe to Clay Edwards Show, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, or any other app you choose to listen to podcasts on. Please help us get those subscriptions up. If you're on Apple, leave us a 5-star review. We're going to start working on some contests. The 5-star review can already be there. I will retro back any contests that we do, and you'll be what am I trying to say here? Qualified for those. Also, I got some FAFO hats in finally. Finally got them in. I ordered 20 hats. I sold 11 of them yesterday. If you want one of the G.I. Joe style logo, like the shirts I've been selling, hats, go to my website, buyfafo.com, buyfafo.com. When they sell out, I'm going to get some more made. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to get them. I just ask that you be patient if you buy a hat. Also, I got some flags. They sold out in 10 seconds. That is not an exaggeration. I'm ordering some more today. I'm trying to find I bought those other ones on Amazon. Probably overpaid for them a little. I'm trying to see if there's a better deal on some bulk out there since clearly Flag Island is going to be renamed to Fafo Island this summer. Anyway, so bear with me. We appreciate the support, I guess is the moral of my story. You guys are so engaged and activated right now. It's got me more fired up than I've been in the last couple of years. We're going into the biggest year of my radio career. This is why the day I got into this was basically the day after Joe Biden got inaugurated. You know, so actually I got in a little before then. I was co-hosting Kim Wade's show some, but when this became a live Clay Edwards show, it was right after Joe Biden got elected, or right before. Anyway, neither here nor there. We knew the point, if we could get to this point right here, we had a chance to make a little bit of a difference. It's like we can just get to year 4. That's why we got that little sound clip in there that says, "Battle for the soul of America." You know, and that's where we are. We're at that point, Shaun, where we are battling for the soul of America. I was telling Shaun last night on the phone, a lot of people always ask, you know, I think Shaun's going to vote. I hope I can articulate this right. Look, I think Shaun's going to vote Republican. He's turning around, man. He's turned around a lot since he's been on the show, and he has, and he'll tell you. You know, like he's seeing things from a different light. But I'm going to tell y'all may think I'm crazy. I still think Shaun is more valuable to us as a Democrat because it holds weight around other Democrats when we're having conversations. And Shaun telling them they're wrong as one of them goes further than Shaun telling them they're wrong as a former one of them. Do you agree with that, Shaun?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's kind of like what I always say about what Bill Maher does that I like. You know, I mean, he's got credibility when he's like, all right, let's call out the crazy stuff, folks. You know, like I think a good example of this or what we're about to talk about is one thing. Yep. And, you know, then the Fani Willis thing is a wonderful example in my mind, especially as a lawyer looking at that whole thing that just made me viscerally angry about what went on there, what is going on there. And I feel like if you're a Democrat and you can't call that out, and you can't see how that's just a, you know, abhorrence to justice in my mind, what she's done and what the whole thing, then you just have no credibility. Like, and you're not being objective and you're not looking at the situation. Because if it would happen to you, then you'd be like, wait a second, I can't believe the Republicans had one of their boyfriends trying to prosecute Joe Biden. I mean, then you'd lose your mind. Like, you know, and so if you're being objective, if anybody's looking at it objectively, that would be a problem. So that's kind of the way I look at that situation. Like, if you don't see that for what that is, and how that, and then, don't forget the book that's written about her with her on the cover. You know, have you seen that one?
A book written
Find
about
Me the
Fani?
Votes? No, it's not by, it's these two other authors.
I missed that one.
Oh, you hadn't seen that one? Okay. There's a book that 2 authors wrote, and it's got Fani on the cover, and it's like, Find Me the Votes, a prosecutor's story, and it's written by 2 other guys, so it's not her. It's not like the Shad White book, you know, that we've talked about before. And it's like, I'm like, you're doing this so you can be Governor Willis or Congresswoman Willis or Senator Willis. Like this is not about justice to you. You know, obviously it's not, because you hired your boyfriend, and then you got on the stand and you lied about it. And
I went back and listened. I went back yesterday and listened to Benny Johnson. I've been listening to Benny a good bit here lately, and I never really liked him. He felt a bit like a grifter to me, but I was wrong. He's really been on this thing. He's just a little too polished for me, is what it is.
Okay.
So he's too polished, but neither here nor there. He replayed yesterday the clip again about her saying she would not have sex with staffers.
Yeah.
And she played a little longer form version of it that I'd heard, where it was really an attack on the previous DA. And
her former boss, by the way, that she ran against, which is another thing. But
oh yeah, and that is frowned upon, obviously, right?
Yeah. I think if someone hires you, it's kind of rough to just go ahead and run against them. I couldn't imagine doing that.
Let me ask this though. I mean, especially DA, wouldn't the most qualified person to run be somebody in the DA's office?
Well, if you're going to do that, I think if somebody's elected DA and they hire you, give you a job, the chance to get in there.
Do you have to live? You
got to live in the district, right? Or county or whatever.
So you can't run for a different one.
No, you've got to live where you are, whatever the.
I know you do to run. I'm saying, like, for you to work at the DA's office, do you have to live there?
No. There's plenty of people living. I mean, I think it's the district attorney's policy, at least in this state, because it used to be in Hinds County where they say you did have to, but then my old boss Robert changed that and said you did. It's their own personal. They can make that policy.
So you could be an assistant DA in Hinds County if you live in Madison, then run for Madison DA.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. You can do that.
That makes a little more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you just got to live. If you're going to run, you got to live in the whatever judicial district it is. Yeah, and I just think if somebody gives you a job and then you decide to run against them, that's kind of that's a pretty disloyal thing to do. Now, I guess if you're going to run and you decide, okay, I'm going to quit because I disagree with this, and now I'm going to run. Maybe that's something different, but not my favorite. I just don't. It's not my favorite thing in the world to see somebody do that, especially politics when someone actually gives you a job.
Absolutely. Circling back to Fani in particular here, the judge gave this he said he's taken 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what he said. The judge is taking 2 weeks on the Fani Willis thing, and everything I've heard, that's a nuclear scenario for them, because that means he's preparing way more than just to kick her off the case. Probably going to disbar her, remove her from her job and everything else.
I don't know if he's got authority to do. I don't think he has authority to disbar her. I think what he can do is he can remove her and recommend to the special prosecutor that she be prosecuted for perjury, because that's exactly what she did. She perjured herself on the stand. I don't see anybody can dispute that. And I think he could do that. But as he can't, he doesn't have the power to disbar her. He can recommend her to the bar. He can do that. He can send a recommendation to the bar. And I assume that's a process in Georgia. But, and that was the things he could do. If you're going to ask me if I was that guy, which he's been a very meticulous, if you've watched him, I've watched every bit of it. He's been very meticulous. He seems like he's very fair. And he's really, okay, I'm kind of geeking out here from being a lawyer. He's been very enjoyable to watch, like the way he's handled the proceedings there, because they could have got out of hand, and he's done a very good job of holding it together and ruling fairly, in my opinion.
I thought he has too, as an inexperienced onlooker. Just watching the way he's handled. I thought he's been very respectful to the defense, if that's what you want to call Fani and them. I thought he's been respectful to them, but he's let some things go. He's overruled. He's sustained when I thought he should.
Me too.
It's been enjoyable to watch.
He's handled a lot better than I would have. Like when she got in that tirade, I probably lost my temper. Because I'm kind of one of those people when it comes to being in court. Where it doesn't come across on the radio, but when I'm in court, it's like in a different world. And when she got on the stand and just was indignant, I thought that was disrespectful to the court. There was no reason to act like that. And
when she got on there and said, "Y'all think I'm the one on trial? I ain't the one on trial."
That wasn't that wasn't the time for that. It wasn't. It's not argument. It was testimony, and I think it was appropriate. And then when obviously it came back that there was those cell phone records. And then her Nathan Wade's partner, I think it was Mr. Terrence Bradley, who had obviously texted one of Trump's lawyers, Ashley Merchant, these scenarios about what's going on with Fani and Nathan, and he said he couldn't testify on the stand because of attorney-client privilege, and they kind of got around some of that. Anyway, if I was a judge and I saw all those text messages, and I've seen the cell phone records, and I know what Fani came up there and gave this explanation if she's got cash in the house. And all this stuff, and that's how I paid him back. I probably have lost my mind at that point, and I'd put her in cuffs if it was me, but, I thought he handled it well.
Well, then it comes out that she texts that lawyer that was talking to the other lawyer, I guess Wade's former partner.
Mm-hmm.
She texted him, or was it anyway? Fani had texted one of them and said, "Hey, we got to shut up talking to them. They're coming for us."
Oh, I didn't remember that part. Okay,
like,
so much of those text messages.
Yeah, like Fani had told him, "We got to shut up talking to them. They're coming for us."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that was at the point where he said, "This is getting. I'm taking 2 weeks. We're done." And
okay, yeah,
they've called him lying. Now,
yeah,
look, I stand on this, Shaun. I want to see some people arrested other than Trump. I think it would be the sweetest poetic justice for Fani to have to take her mugshot at the Fulton County hellhole that she made Donald Trump take his. And I don't think it's going to go as well for her as it went for Trump.
I mean, like I was saying, I think you could recommend it to the Attorney General's office of Georgia and to look at her for perjury charges, which seems like to me she committed perjury, if you're asking me. I don't know if they're able to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, but I think anybody that's watching it looked very obvious. So I would, if I was a judge, I would do that. I would refer that, and I would refer to the bar, and then see what let them handle it, because that's those kind of two folks' purview. And I would remove her, but I don't know what he's going to do. We'll see. It's such a politically charged case, as we all know. So I don't know if he's going to. I just can't imagine. Let me put it this way. I can't imagine a scenario where he leaves her on the case after all this, because then I was gaming this out with some lawyer friends of mine, an idea I had. What I would do if he kept her on the case and I was Trump's lawyers is then I'd put her and Nathan Wade on my witness list for the trial. And so some of my friends are like, what's your idea going there? And I said, I would call them as witnesses, and I'd say, I think it's relevant for bias and motive and all, and I think it's something for the jury to decide at that point. I don't know if the judge would let it in. It might be a crazy move, but I would try it. I would try to call her as a witness. And then if you're a fact witness as a lawyer, you're not supposed to actually handle the case. So that's another issue. I'm not going to get into legalities of that, but so I would, that's how I would mess them up if I was representing Trump. I would say, okay, I'm going to throw Fani and Nathan on my witness list and see what happens there. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
Well, like from my personal opinion on this, and where I'm maxed out and tapped out with this pro-black racism stuff and this and all that, is the audacity of her to blame her current situation on racism and play that card. It's man, look,
the church speech is really horrible, and I think Trump's lawyers pointed out very well in their closing argument, and they said they played clips, if I remember correctly, where she's saying they only go after the one. Okay, well, wait a second, Fani. First of all, you don't need to be getting in the church and talking about this case in public anyway. You're the prosecutor on the case. It's not appropriate. You shouldn't do that. That's number one. Number two is the one. The one is the guy that you're sleeping with, that's paying. That's why it's not. I mean, if you were sleeping with the other lawyer, they do the same thing.
That you're overpaying.
Yeah.
And she's like, they're just going after the black guy because you're sleeping with the black guy.
If he was a white guy, I think they'd do the same thing. I don't 100%. See why it would be any different. Like you just.
And let me tell you, if Fani, if all the roles were reversed in this, if they were going after a Democrat president and the defense was white conservatives, I think this would be a bigger story than it is now. I don't even think they've got a hearing. They'd be like, you're out of here.
Well, I mean, I think, I don't see how if you were a Democrat and the reverse was happening to you, you wouldn't be going crazy. I'd be going,
especially in a blue state.
I'll tell you this,'t be showing the same level of indignance I am now. Like if that were happening, like it would make me just as angry as I am right now. I mean, and just because I'm not looking at this as a Republican Democrat, I'm looking at this as our justice system that you're corrupting. And that's the problem I have with it.
And that's why at the end of the day, I don't care how you vote. I like having you on the show because I think you're calling balls and strikes. Let's take a break.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.